Shape of Water is a film directed by Guillermo del Toro and also written by Guillermo del Toro. He also did the screenplay for this movie. It's a monster movie slash romance film. It's kind of like Beauty and the Beast meets E.T. It stars a woman named Sally Hawkins as the main character of Eliza. It also stars other great talent like Octavia Spencer and Michael Shannon and Doug Jones as the creature in this monster movie. So like I said, Sally Hawkins plays a woman named Eliza. Eliza is mute. She can't speak, she can't talk. She works at this top secret government facility with her friend Octavia Spencer as a cleaner, and one day a mysterious creature is brought into the facility, watched over by Michael Shannon. Eliza develops a connection with this creature. She gets close to it. She eventually starts falling in love with this creature, and then she finds out that the creature's life might be in danger, so she has to figure out a way to work with her friends to protect this creature and help it escape from its prison in this facility. And Michael Shannon, well, he's not going to be too happy about that. One thing I've always loved about Guillermo del Toro and his films is his ability to visually paint a picture. I mean, this dude is one of the greatest visual storytellers that I've ever seen. This guy is a master class at subtly and visually laying it out for you. It's like a roadmap filled with all kinds of emotion, all kinds of subtext, and all kinds of layers, and visually you just gotta see it with your eyes. I mean, the shit is poetry on screen. And this movie is no different, because this is not only one of the best looking and gorgeous looking films of the entire year, but it's a film that has a lot of visual subtext and a lot of visual storytelling that will go unnoticed unless you're actually paying attention. It's not enough to say that this movie is eggs on a tip beautiful. I mean, duh, of course it is. Guillermo del Toro always has a beautiful looking movie. I like what he did with the lighting and the contrast in this film. Somehow it's a little bit more of a grounded reality in this film. It takes place in the 1960s, so it's not as much of a fantastical epic as you're used to seeing from Guillermo del Toro, but somehow in a grounded fantasy, it still somehow manages to pop visually. I'm not entirely sure how he and the cinematographer did that for this film, but kudos to both of those guys. Performances in this film are so goddamn good that I don't think it's enough for me to get out of this review and not say that every single one of the main principal characters and actors in this film need to be nominated for something. I don't give a damn if it's a Golden Globe. I don't give a damn if it's an Oscar. I don't care if someone just draws a picture of a golden statue on a piece of paper and hands it to them and says, "You were awesome," because guess what? Everybody in this movie was freaking awesome. Sally Hawkins was mesmerizing as the main character of Eliza. She doesn't say anything in the movie. She can't talk, obviously, because she's mute. But her facial reactions and her eyes tell everything. They tell the entire story. All I can really say about her performance in this movie is that she moves mountains emotionally without saying a single word. Everyone else was really great in the movie too. Octavia Spencer, I mean, she just adds something to every movie that she's in. She has some very funny parts. She has some very welcome levity and humor. Even though she brought some humor, there's also some very touching and heartfelt moments with her character too. And I would say that her character, just like most of the other characters in this film, are trying to find themselves in someone else. They're trying to find some part of themselves. They're trying to find something that they've lost within themselves, and they're trying to see it reflected in someone else. Her character represents that too. Doug Jones is great as this amphibian sea creature, monster, whatever the hell this thing is. The prosthetics and the design of the creature are very well done, and Doug Jones does a lot of miming and a lot of hand movements and a lot of eye twitches, and it's hard to describe, but all I can know is that Doug Jones was great in this movie. Michael Shannon, oh my god, the dude is just, I hate him in this movie. Michael Shannon does such a great job at playing a great villain. We have seen that in other films that he's done, but in this movie in particular, he was such a slime ball. Oh my god, I absolutely hated Michael Shannon in this movie. I hated him. I despised him at a cellular level. He was awful. He was disgusting. He made me sick to my stomach, but I couldn't turn away from the screen while he was on it. Even though this is a film that seems like it has a simple-ish story to it, it's a romance between a monster and a girl who can't speak. It seems kind of simple, but there are so many layers and themes and subtext interwoven throughout the narrative of the script and the screenplay that just make this movie pop on a more emotional level and on a more cerebral level than your typical Beauty meets the Beast type of story. There are some very subtle references and ways that the film brings up and addresses things that are not only prevalent in our society today, but were also prevalent during that era in the 1960s. There are some heavy themes about prejudice, about judging somebody who's different than you. Subconscious prejudices that we have about people even when we don't say anything. It also says a lot about people with disabilities and the way we take people like that for granted, and the way that sometimes not saying things is sometimes the most powerful statement that a person can make. My only real issue with this movie is that the movie does hit a lull sometime between the second act and the third act. There's a point in the movie where the story is going along and then something happens and then the story just kind of stops for a little bit and there's a little bit of a lull. There's not much going on from a story perspective. It's not that the story comes to a crashing halt, it's just kind of like a plane circling overhead. It's hovering. It's not really going anywhere. Another little nitpick is that I wish we had found out a little bit more about Abe Sapien. Look at him. Look at the fish thing in this movie and tell me that that doesn't seem like it's a prequel or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be for Abe Sapien from the Hellboy movies. Come on. I mean, it's so obvious. Plus, it's played by the same guy who was Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies. Maybe I'm reaching, but I don't think I am. The Shape of Water was one of the most touching, beautiful, visually, thematically awesome movies that I have seen in 2017. This movie touched me. And it touched me everywhere. It touched me in my brain. It touched me in my heart. All that said, I am going to give The Shape of Water Superman Prime. Guys, I absolutely loved this movie. You need to go check this movie out. If it's playing near you, please find it in yourself to go to the theater and see this movie. You will not be disappointed, especially if you're a diehard Guillermo del Toro fan. Guys, go ahead and hit me with your favorite Guillermo del Toro movie down in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.